So today's day 21, and as I was thinking about this morning, as I was running, I was thinking about what to write on. And it occurred to me that this weekend was fun, but interesting for me. I got a couple of projects thrown at me, one of which was decorating the house for Halloween, and the second was helping my daughter with a science project. Both of which are good things to do. However, they throw you a little bit of curveball. And I was sitting there thinking, how often do we get disrupted in our lives on what we're intending to do with curveballs being thrown at us? And in my life, I've been able to go pretty strong on a new commitment for a period of time, usually 20, 30 days. And then, as I discussed on my last video, sometimes just things, you lose that motivation. But more importantly, I think what happens is just something happens, like some big event happens, or some vacation, or some issue happens, or something unexpected. Some disruption occurs, and next thing you know, you're no longer able to stay on top of it. And then you fall apart, and your commitment goes away, and you're back to where you started. So how do you deal with this? So I was thinking this morning, it's a lot like a disruption that happens in your life is a lot like a curveball. And I was sitting there imagining what somebody who's a baseball player steps up to bat in the batting box and has to face down a pitcher. And the pitcher throws, some normal pitches, and then they throw a curveball. And I can imagine how unnerving a curveball would be if you didn't have confidence to know how to hit it. So that led me down the path of, well, I wonder, how do batters deal with curveballs? I mean, what are the practices? So I started researching what that was, and I uncovered, a couple of interesting thoughts, but the primary thought was the basic principles of swinging and hitting a ball with a bat do not change if it's a curveball. I mean, there are some changes, but for the large part, the basics are what are really what are really key. And I was thinking that really applies to my life. As I go about trying to do better things in my life and establish good habits, I need to keep that in mind. When a disruption comes, the best thing that I can do is stick to the basics. Do the basics well, keep up my base core habits, keep them up, and I'll be able to withstand any of life's distractions. The last thing that I should throw to the curb, or the last thing that I should ditch out on, is the foundation of good habits I've built. So even when you have disruptions, you should maintain the basics. So just a real quick run through. I found around 10 really solid advice for people that are trying to hit curveballs in baseball. I think they apply to life. The first one is that they teach batters to recognize the spin of the ball as soon as it leaves the pitcher's hand. Now, I have no idea how they do this when it's an 80, 90, 100 mile an hour fastball, or whatever. But I do believe that over time you can start to really focus your eyes on that and probably pick it up. I mean, the human eyes and mind are pretty incredible. But what about recognizing spin? I think whenever a disruption comes, my initial reaction is always overreaction. I tend to throw up my arms and overreact. And all is over. Oh, this is horrible. Well, actually, perhaps I should really take a look at what it is and realize it's not that bad. Second is maintaining good vision. They teach batters to always keep their eyes focused on the ball. Focus on what is happening with that ball and waiting till it reaches the hitting zone before they swing. And I was thinking about this as well. It's like, even if we have a disruption in our lives, the best thing that we can always do is when we decide to focus on a task, focus on the task. Be mindful. Go after that task, get that task done, and don't worry about all the stuff you have to do, all this other mechanics going on in your life. One of the things I read was that baseball players, hitters, one of their biggest difficulties is sometimes when their mind gets distracted because they're thinking about other things, and that slows them down. And that slight slowdown of the mental energy can cause can be the difference between a successful time in the batter's box or not. The third is staying balanced. There's that word again. I hate balance, but I'm the most imbalanced person you can imagine. But balance is important. Even when you're facing life's struggle, curveballs, different things happening, disruption in your life, best thing you can do is maintain your balance. Keep a healthy, balanced approach to everything you do in life. So even if you get thrown a curveball, that doesn't mean you throw everything away in your life and you stop eating healthy, you stop exercising. Those are fundamental things. Same thing happens in business. A disruption occurs, and so everybody overreacts, and they ditch all of the things they're supposed to be doing every day, and they focus on the distraction, and all the good things have gone to the wayside. The fourth thing I learned was when trying to swing at a curveball, you should practice your timing. A curveball comes at you with different timing than maybe a fastball would. So that's interesting, right? And I wouldn't even know about that because I've never really swung a bat at a baseball other than in middle school when I was humiliated. But I can understand how that would work. You're watching for when the ball will come across the strike zone, and you're trying to time that before you swing. So I get the idea. So how can we apply that to our lives? Well, I was thinking this morning, we do need to understand how much time something will take. When a disruption comes, we should evaluate how much is this going to take. A lot of times my reaction is to drag myself and everybody around me into solving the crisis of the day without any regard to how long and how much effort it'll take. Sometimes you need a real appropriate analysis on this before you decide to jump in. I mean, I'll jump, like this weekend, I jumped into a project. My wife just wanted me to put up lights outside for Halloween, but I went like crazy. I built this like mini haunted house in our front yard, and with all this display and lighting, and I just went crazy. Well, this is something I dove into, and I drug my son and my daughter and my wife into it. And it took us 2 days to finish my little project, and in fact, it's still not done. So that's a disruption that I caused. I could have handled the disruption in an appropriate amount of time, maybe 4 hours, got the lights up, made everybody happy. But no, I have to make it worse than it is. So I think timing is really important. You should consider how much time something's going to take before you dive in. The fifth concept I read about was staying patient. We can be really impatient, and that's a problem with swinging at a curveball. A lot of hitters will swing too early on a curveball, from what I understand. So we also need to realize that just because we have a disruption or just because we have some downs, not everything is going to be up. You're not going to be awesome all the time. You're not going to always be great. Sometimes you're going to have some ups and some downs. So we should be patient. The long term is what we need to be focused on. The sixth one is quick hands. They say in baseball that you need, when swinging a bat, and this applies to curveballs or any ball, you have to have quick hands. Maybe you'll adjust your swing based on the location and the movement of the ball. And so the quick hands is, I think, a good example of if you're swinging at a ball, it doesn't matter what type of pitch it is. It could be a slider, it could be a curveball, it could be a fast pitch, it could be completely errant baseball. Whatever it is, I think the basics are always there. Baseball players learn to have quick hands in order to strike a ball. You can't get around the basics. And just like in our lives, there are certain basics that we need to maintain. These are your good habits. They keep you fine-tuned. They keep you ready for action. You cannot let those go on the wayside. Because if they do, you're no longer ready to handle a distraction or handle something big when it happens. We're always in training for that time when we have to handle something. And it would be really sad if you stopped doing the basics and then the time came when you had to perform really well and you weren't able to perform because you hadn't kept up with the basics. The seventh is using your lower body. It's from what I understand, they teach baseball players to engage the lower body in the swing. So as a curveball is thrown, it's the same concept in any ball, any type of pitch. You use your hips and legs to generate power in your swing. This is just another basics, but this allows you to maintain balance and allows you to maintain control throughout your swing. So I think I equate this to just absolutely having the core fundamentals. If you get a disruption in your life or a curveball thrown at you, you may not be able to do everything you were intending to do that day, but you can do the absolute core, the absolute most fundamental things. So there are 3 or 4 things that I consider my core, things that I have to do every day, irregardless of what happens. I would recommend finding what your core is, and those are the things you do every day, no matter what. And those keep me on track, keep my mind engaged, keep me ready, keep me feeling healthy, and also keeps me feeling good about myself. When I let everything go is when I get out of balance, I get out of whack, and I can't hit anything. Next is practice tracking. They say in baseball, when a ball is thrown at you, you should learn to track the baseball's movement throughout the pitch. You should watch the spin, watch how the ball flows, track the ball. And I equated this practice tracking with, in life, we have to track our progress. We should track everything that we're doing. We should track how we're progressing towards our objectives and towards our goals. We should not allow 1 or 2 disruptions and a couple days of unproductivity to prevent us from seeing the entire trajectory of where we're trying to head in life. The last 2 are kind of fun ones. I read that good hitters always study pitchers. They analyze every pitcher in the game. They analyze how they throw, when they throw, how heavy they do it, how fast they do it, how often they do it, and what sequence they do it. Some of them use them sparingly. Some of them throw curveballs all the time. So you got to know that before you go into the game. So I think that's important for us too in life. We should study and understand other people in the game. It also says that batters learn from others. They have coaches and mentors that teach them how to handle certain types of pitchers. So I think the same thing applies in our life. We should take every advantage of any mentor, coach, or people that could help us. We should not be afraid to open our mouths and ask for help. We should never find ourselves not looking for advice and guidance from other people that are better at it than us. Be humble and recognize that you need to improve. Everybody does. There's nothing wrong with that. Finally, the last one, and I left this one for last because I thought it was the most pertinent. I read one person's article that the best thing that any baseball player that's having a struggle hitting difficult pitches like a curveball can do is just to remain confident and have a positive mindset. Mental toughness plays the most significant role in the ability for a batter to handle a tough pitch. And I think that's exactly the same thing in our life. We got to have mental resilience, mental toughness, be okay with failure, be okay with disruption, stay focused on the task at hand. And with that mental toughness, we can push through the disruption and get on to our normal course. So with that, I'll leave you with this analogy. Just like hitting a curveball in life, we can also deal with challenges in our own lives by following basic core principles. Thank you.